Truthseekers, your source for Warhammer Underworlds and under 30 double supports that you're actually happy to see on the dice. I'm Davey, your host, and with me is my co-host, Phil. How are you, Phil?
Hey, doing pretty good.
And we have, at this point, almost an honorary co-host in his own right, Matt, from Set the Tempo. Matt, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. This was kind of an idea that we hatched. I pitched to you and you were on board, was to have kind of a content creator deathmatch. And you had done an article I quite enjoyed with the building the Truthseekers. So we did the other side of the box and thought we'd run those two decks against each other. And since the thought process behind the creation of those two decks is out there for the world to see, either on a podcast or a blog, depending, then this will be kind of a stress test on it, and then our thoughts on those decks moving forward, so we can kind of see how plan met reality. So that's what's in store for you today. For context, this is we're recording on Wednesday, the 10th of November. You'll be hearing this in a few more days than that. I think Monday the 15th. No new news. We still know there's a pirate ogre out there, unless I've missed something, guys. Is there something I've missed?
No, I haven't seen anything, I think.
Okay.
And no cards or anything. So
I guess the only other thing is just, kind of the naming of the first Rivals deck coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Illusory Might.
Yep. All right. Get ready for some illusions.
yeah.
But it'd be fun to see. I'm actually pretty excited to see that. See what lessons they took from the first one they ever tried, and see what they do. It seems like a tremendous challenge to create a universal Rivals deck. I think the more of them there are out there, like because if there's only one, then most people are not all that interested in it. Maybe, like a lot of warbands can't use it, but the more there are out there, the more they can like build something that's usable by different archetypes and stuff. So
I think that's the key to me with the decks is like, starting to see different archetypes as opposed to just kind of a mishmash.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope that's what we see.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in other games that have this deck building component as like pre-builds that are, a particular way. So there's unique challenges with this miniature matchup, but that's where we're at. We have a couple games we're going to try and get through. If we bog down too much, we'll cut it off at one, but we'll try and do two. So we're going to kind of cut short some of our usual parts. I just wanted to do a quick community shout out. I just caught up on the latest Path to Glory today, and it reminded me that we didn't really talk much about the drop of the or slash at all about the drop of the errata and that sort of thing. They do a good job of covering that. And so if you want to kind of dive into that, that's a good place to take a look. Some of the stuff about match play and designers commentary and all that sort of thing. So it was a fun episode. They got Jason Murray on from Battle Mallet. They're still figuring out if they're going to do more recording down the line, but hopefully yes. So there's that. And then wanted to shout out to all the new folks, whoever you may be out there that are getting into this. That particular Path to Glory episode was talking about Rivals and how it was a format that was kind of bringing some people in. And I think we've even seen that a little locally, like Marty is a local of ours that has kind of dabbled at the edges, but it was easier for him to kind of jump in and get some practice games with Rivals. So we've seen some people on the Discord that are working up towards playing. So shout out to like Countess Elias Neonat. I don't know how to say some of these names that are on there. So, that specifically, but in the general broader sense. And then the flip side of that are all the folks out there who are taking the time to expand our community by doing the practice games. And our local, that happened to be Skylar on our last time. He took the time out to do kind of a teaching game for somebody who was just checking it out. And so taking the time to do that, anyone who's doing that, you're awesome. And thanks for doing it. So
sure.
that covers the community shoutouts. We're going to jump in. As a reminder, if you want to take a look at these decks, they're available in our previous episode or on Matt's blog. And I'll try to have the links to those in here so you can bring them up and look alongside. We pretty much, if you were to give like a 2-sentence summary of your deck, Matt, like what is your deck generally trying to do and take advantage of with respect to the Truthseekers' natural abilities?
It's going to run into enemy territory, hit the opponent, and then react to whatever anybody does with the reaction keyword, because I think I've got like 17 reactions in the deck or something silly. I haven't counted. I'm being facetious, but it was surprising to me in these games against Phil how many times the word reaction came up.
Phil, same question for you.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who were listening to our previous episode with the deck building, I was running the deck that we built. So the main idea was to lean into the support ideas that are inherent to the Cunnin crew. So a lot of the game plan here was trying to not necessarily be defensive, but to just try and maneuver and set up situations where I can more easily take advantage of the extra supports that the little Dangle Bros give, or giving like a good positioning from Torka to give support.
Fair. And then I'm going to advance it one more step. When coming to this particular matchup, did you have anything in particular in mind, or was this a new enough matchup to you where you're like, I'm just going to see how it rolls?
Yeah, so I definitely was concerned about how aggressive I expected the Stormcast to be, and they definitely did not disappoint. They were certainly aggressive. And so I was trying to not be like just throwing, my little squishy fighters away. And I kind of realized in the first game, which we'll cover later, but I made some mistakes that I think were because of thinking that I needed to protect the small guys.
Okay, we'll get into that more as we play the game itself. How about you, Matt? Coming into this, had you played this matchup before?
So I had played this matchup in Rivals,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that Truthseekers have a much weaker faction deck for Rivals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of got blown out of the water in that Rivals match.
Right.
And and I had listened to the episode from you guys, but it was kind of the way I would have built it. It wasn't really throwing me off. So I think for me, I was thinking a lot of it was going to come down to the dice and positioning.
Sure. All right. Well, it looks like Matt wins the roll off here. And I should say, for folks listening along, I'm kind of working us through a shared recording here. And we'll kind of be describing some of what's going on here. I'll try to MC this for us. But it looks to me like, Matt, you won this first roll off and you had Phil place first. What was your thought process there?
I just really wanted to control my starting hexes. I'm using the Amber Trap Nest to have 3 starting hexes up front, so I can have my slow Stormcast get into enemy territory.
Mm-hmm. And Phil, you put down Hive of Sacrifice, which is one of those fairly flexible neutral boards. It doesn't have any lethals or block. Was that intentional, or were you just looking for a good spread of hexes?
Very intentional. I did not want there to be anything to disrupt movement because I'm also slow, and I wanted to be able to get fighters into supporting, and having a wide open board really helps for that. And then it has a wide variety of orientations for deployment.
It'd be interesting going forward as you get more reps. The Hive of Sacrifice has a couple hexes that are adjacent, and some clustered, where you can maybe set up those supports even more easily. But then we were on to placement of objectives. So Phil, you had the advantage here. So I'll start with you. What did you have in mind when you were placing the objectives down?
So I was mostly thinking about placing them in terms of using them for gloom, one, to add the defensive benefits, and then two, we do have, I think it's just the one card, maybe it was two, but there's a couple of cards in the deck that did rely on Gloom either for scoring or as just the triggering mechanic for being able to play the card.
Yeah.
So
there was like Merc Lurkers in there, which puts everyone on guard. There was one where you're more offensively oriented and upgrade if you have better accuracy if you're fighting from a Gloom Hex and that sort of thing.
Yes. And so I wanted to position them in a way to like have them sort of be around where the fighting was going to be taking place.
Mm-hmm. And Matt, did you have anything in particular in mind when you were placing hexes here?
If you'll look, most of the cover hexes that I try to place are going to be 3 hexes away and adjacent to a starting hex. So I can get that initial charge in.
So you give yourself a landing spot where you're slightly better defensively.
Yeah. Okay. I put one in between 2 starting hexes, 3 away from one of my starting hexes, so that I could charge and have the potential of 2 targets.
That's a good call. I can say personally for me in this step, I am still like traumatized from years of lethal hexes, and I still am looking like I need to place an objective to like protect some of the starting hexes. I'm like, oh wait, I don't have to do that anymore. So
yep.
But yeah, so that's some good insights. Then we draw up hands here, and I've watched through this replay once before. So Phil, you're up first on your decision, and I believe you mulligan your objectives here.
That is correct.
And so it looks like you drop Proud Commander, you get rid of Outmaneuver, and Supreme Cunning. So a third end phase, a surge, and a fairly easy end phase. Was it just that you didn't want to carry Proud Commander through the whole game?
That was the whole reason. Mm-hmm. And it's a free mulligan, so I figured why not?
Sure. Can you think of any circumstance? Like, I mean, I guess there's so many different possibilities. If you had 2 strong surges, maybe you carry Proud Commander through. But
yeah, I think if I have both of the surges that are saying like score this immediately when you make an attack with 2 supporting fighters, like if you have both of those on turn 1,
and you're in an aggro matchup like you are in this,
just keep them because that's super easy. But here I know I'd only have the 1 surge. If I then drew into an end phase, I'd probably be pretty stuck. So I figured get the third end phase into a later round, and it's just probably going to smooth things.
I mean, I think it's a good example right off the bat how the new change of rules makes a 2 glory third end phase, which would normally be too risky for too little, a viable option. Matt, if I'm remembering right, you mulligan your power cards. It looks like a classic 4 upgrade and 1 gambit hand that you're ditching. So is this a pretty no-brainer for you?
Well, and looking at cards like Scavenged Armor, Savage Soldier, and Prey Scent, all of them are not really round 1 cards. They're not cards you're going to equip and charge in with as well.
Yeah.
And so, my movement gambit would be helpful, but I know that because Phil's got 5 fighters, I'm going to be able to hit at least 3 of them, or at least 2 of them if he goes as far back as he can with range 1. And so I'm not really in dire need of the speed either.
Okay. So you mulligan those, and it's nice to know that you will still have access to those later, right? So especially since, like you said, they're cards that like things like Savage Soldier particularly strong later. So good to know. You're getting ready to deploy. You roll off here, and Matt wins that roll off. And so obviously he's going to have Phil start. Phil, we've kind of talked based on your board choice. What's your thoughts for deployment here?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I was thinking that I wanted to protect the little guys, but also not take a super aggressive stance. So I sort of started out by putting down Manak and Torka to the sort of middle of the board
Mm-hmm.
to act as like a screen, because they both have reach 2 and are tougher.
Mm-hmm.
With the idea that like, well, you can't necessarily, also with speed 3, you're just not going to get to all the little guys, but if you want to get to them, it's going to be that much more risky.
Sure.
And then I just have Crookgrin, Gicket, and Shank all in the back line of this board, just to try and, like I said, keep them away, and hopefully not just get blown up by Doraz right away.
And Matt, it looks like you've got kind of the deployment you're hoping for, where you've got your 2 brawlers. I guess brawler is actually a keyword, so I should be careful with that. You've got Doraz and Xandire up front in places where there's somebody they can charge with a melee attack, and then Storm Rider is a little more flexible with her range, and then Taros is Taros way at the back. Is Taros? How do you find Taros in your games usually? Is it kind of like a try not to give up glory and then just try and help out when you can? Or
I have found that Xandire dies before Taros in every game I've played.
Oh, all right.
But I also think that's positioning, and anybody who's played against me knows that I'm a pretty aggressive player,
Okay.
and will not really pull punches. So, but I think like my note on deployment is just anybody playing the Warband, always put Taros within 2 hexes of Luxa. Like that's actually the most important thing that you're going to do with Storm Rider and Taros, because you want to leverage that 3 hex push when you do move her during your round.
Right.
And if you're like, I would always have those within 2 hexes of each other when I can, like just because of that reaction. And also Taros gets support on attack and defense from Storm Rider when he's within 2 hexes.
All right.
So it effectively turns his initial 2 dodge into 2 block.
Oh yeah.
From the odd stance.
Okay.
So super important to have those 2 together, unless you're scoring a card, or there's some specific reason. I don't see a reason to ever have them apart.
Fair enough. Give me a quick thought about what you have in your opening hand and how that's formulating your strategy that you're planning on. We'll start with you, Matt.
So I've got Branching Fate in hand, so I know I'm going to charge with Xandire, and try to score that on the first activation. I've got Surge of Aggression, and so I'm looking at the fact that both Xandire and Doraz have range to Manok. Because I can't hit a small fighter, I might be able to kill Manok with a double tap. And then I've got Banish the Dark, which is just charge and don't end adjacent. So I know probably my last activation or third activation is going to be Luxa charging, and loosing a range 4 shot.
Yeah. So I forgot range 4 right off the bat. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Are you all in on Branching Fate with the 1 attack, or is there any backup where you might be able to score it if Xandire doesn't score it for you on that first swing?
So once inspired, both Luxa and Taros go to 3. So it's that place where I'm actually hoping to inspire, because the other card I have in hand is Inspired Attack, which would bring Doraz to 3. 3 smash, 4 damage. So those are kind of the pieces that I'm looking at in this hand, and actually balances decently considering the mulligan.
So you're expecting Xandire is going in first, and you're okay if she goes down,
of course,
because it unlocks some other things. How about you, Phil? Your starting hand versus, and how's that forming a plan for you?
Yeah, so we've got a nice start with Orchestrated Kill, Unequal Contest, and Impending Doom. So the idea here is that if I can set up 1 double supported attack, I should probably be able to score all 3 of these if I can get the kill. The kill is sort of the tough part, because I am going to need to hit a fighter twice, just because of the strength of these fighters. So my hope is to use Torka and Manok in later rounds, after I've gotten a positioning set up to start swinging and getting those extra hits. For power cards to kind of help with some of that, I do have in hand Swarming Strike. So I was thinking that I do have that option to get an additional supporting fighter from a power card.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else is defensive. So it's just like, well, let's just try and survive if I do manage to pick up some glory.
Fair. All right. Well, your roll off, the Truthseekers are going to get it with their free crit. Matt, did you consider at all here? Like, was this a difficult choice at all, whether to have go first or second?
If there had been, Shank or Gicket in range, I would have immediately charged with Xandire and not given him a chance to move away out of range. But because it was a 4 or 5 wound fighter that were the two that I could charge easily, I was mostly setting up for future rounds.
Okay.
And so I let him go first.
All right. And Phil, you go with the charge from Torka. It looks like you found a landing spot in the gloom, and you've got him kind of up forward in one of those good old Torka spots where hopefully we'll be able to help support a whole lot.
Yes.
Torka comes in hot with a whiff right out of the dice. So nothing there. You're sticking with the plan, Matt, as Xandire comes in and starts getting to work on Manok.
Yep.
So you are doing two things. You're trying to get that damage, and you're fishing for that branching fate as well.
Absolutely.
And you get you actually get both of those things. You get damage through, and you get branching fate on this. So it's a pretty promising start.
Yep.
Annoyingly.
Here's always a kind of a tough thing for me. When you're fighting a range 2 fighter, you get in for that melee attack, and then you've got to decide on a drive back or not. You choose to drive Manok back here. Is that just to make supports harder, or what's your thought?
If you look at it, Doraz can now charge him, where he could not have if I would have left him where he was.
Sure, strong play. Okay, right.
So it's all about setting up for that surge of aggression, and actually trying to get kind of a cheeky kill on his leader pretty early in the game.
Okay, that's a good call. Phil, you end up sending in both Shank and Gicket.
Correct.
And this is you do this not with Grot Pile, which at first I thought was going on, but because Gicket was standing next to Manok, you get to use that reaction. That's kind of a cool to see that in play.
Yeah.
I think that creates an argument for having Manok start next to somebody just to give you that option. But what was the idea between sending in the little guys first here?
So Xandire had already charged, so I knew she's not moving. And this gives me a way to easily set up against Xandire. Xandire is now in range of both the 2 range fighters that I have, and then I just get these guys into position. Even if he can come in and like clear one of them off, I should be having double supports on Xandire the rest of the round, basically. So the idea then is that I have 3 more chances at hitting Xandire. I need to hit twice if I don't hit with the little guys, which I'm not really banking on that.
Yeah,
to try and get the kill.
Will you, so we know off of this conversation that that Matt's really eyeing up the Doraz finish off Manok charge. Are you worried about that, or is it something that you're not seeing?
I noticed
or
it
just
later.
Not worried about. Okay.
I hadn't been looking at it, and then I was like, okay, Doraz is going to be able to come in and get this hit. But by the time I realized it, it was kind of too late. So I did end up thinking about it later, and then I was like, oh, even if I like put on, because I have great fortitude in hand, and like, so it's like, okay, well, I could juice him up to make him harder to kill, but it won't matter because Doraz hits so hard anyway.
So you come in, you got the 1 success versus 1 success, which side note, we talked about contest of equals. So be interesting to see how often that,
which was not in my hand at the time, unfortunately.
And we didn't include it in the deck, although I'm starting to think that we probably should have in this one. But silver lining on this, you did set up Impending Doom with this. Yep. So you've got one of your surges right out of the gate. What do you draw into, actually?
drew into the it's Conan Warfare. So this is the one where you have to have 2 fighters with charge tokens, and they have to both be in cover hexes.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Which you already have technically,
which I already had set up, so it felt pretty good at this point. I was just like, okay, well, let's maybe put one more in if we need to for insurance. So we have 3. So then it's like, well, it's sort of like at that point, it's like hold objective play.
Yeah.
You kind of just make your opponent pick one of them, and then you still pick it up.
Yeah. And Matt, I didn't ask, what did you draw into?
Yeah, I drew Savage Exemplar, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I was... spoiler alert, it's no longer in the deck.
Fair enough.
I've always actually found the card pretty limited for the way that I like to play. So,
yeah.
But it, to me, it was okay. Like I didn't have much more that I wanted to do because no matter what, I'm trying to get my bodies in the enemy territory for things like We Suffice and Bold Deeds, and that other one that one where I need to have 3 of my fighters in enemy territory. I don't have it in hand, so I don't remember the name.
All right, but it's coming back to you. You have the chance for the Doraz charge. What is that the plan you're sticking with from here?
I believe so.
But Phil does get a Merc Lurkers out, which you duel the wits off of.
Yeah.
So that Merc Lurker is kind of a nice bonus. I think we talked about it some while we're building that, but the keeping you in those gloom tokens, especially with the dearth of distractions.
So this is where the plan changes for me, because I drew Great Strength and I have a Glory. So and I have Crushing Momentum in hand, which allows me to remove a guard token.
Right.
And give myself Cleave. And so I've got a 1 dice Torka that I can cleave through and deal 4 damage, get Primacy, and do Surge of Aggression. So instead of giving him supports, trying to attack Manic, which would also inspire Manic, I decided to go for the Torka charge here.
It's a good call. I forgot about it last time and forgot about this time is the defensive inspires. So, yeah, go for that. Phil remembers to inspire his little guys after that. And you come in, keeping yourself close together. Is that to keep some defensive supports going or isolate anyone or?
It's mostly to kind of be on the right side and, by Xandire.
Sure. All right. And Crushing Momentum comes out, so you get to peel that guard token off. So you're feeling pretty good.
Oh, so the reason. So Phil had played Great Fortitude on Tough Skull, but I realized that with Great Strength, as long as I just hit the attack, I'll score Surge of Aggression.
Right.
I don't need Primacy off of it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I got to damage 4.
Yeah.
So that was kind of why I kept doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that power step where I played the Great Fortitude, I was sort of looking at the board, and that's when I sort of realized that Manok was in trouble.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll put Great Fortitude on him. And then I did the math, and I was like, that isn't going to help me. So then I was like, well, I guess Torka's getting it. And then I put the illusion upgrade onto Manok to give him an extra defense, just in case.
So Manok's rocking 2 defense. So Doraz comes in, successfully lands his blow, leaving Torka. What's the term? Vulnerable? No.
Yep. Vulnerable.
Yeah.
Vulnerable. Right. And you get another surge, 2 activations, 2 surges scored. What do you draw into, Matt?
Great gains.
Great gains. Okay. So you got to be feeling okay about that. Do you feel like you've got a route towards 3 more glory? Probably not. Nope, maybe.
Not at all. I literally don't have a route.
Okay.
Because I have Savage Exemplar.
Oh, that's right.
And a 1 glory and face card. Okay. So I need to make 2 kills on 2 activations, which I can potentially shoot Torka and then charge one of the 2 wound fighters. All of that is very potential.
All right.
So,
Phil, it's coming back to you. What are you thinking here? So you're about to take your third activation. You still got Manic in the mix. Gicket and Shank are still set up. What are your priorities here?
Yep. So at this point, I think we're just trying to get the kills. We're set up to pretty much have what we need for supports.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just make attacks at this point.
Okay.
I have no reason to move, really.
And you're piling on Xandar here because you have all the extra support from the little guys? So
the extra, Xandar for the extra support. Also thinking that if you start whittling down the other guys first and then decide to kill Xandar for some reason, that then you're really putting yourself in a hole. So it's like...
You're talking because of the heal reaction.
Yes.
Right?
So either you have to like commit to not killing Xandar until the others are fully dead, or you kill Xandar first. It's sort of like a really bad
Matt,
feeling.
How often does that heal reaction come up, do you feel like?
Never.
I
mean, I've always been kind of a leader first player, even if they're weak. Like I'd say I play Rippers a bit differently because of that.
Yeah.
And so I don't really care. Like if she's gonna die, she's gonna die. She's there to eliminate a fighter, get a really accurate attack off, and score me Branching Fate. And if you want to supercharge Doraz for me, great. And even more so Storm Rider. So like I'm okay with that trade.
Fair.
At any point. And that's kind of where I've been on it.
Well, this is an attack that gets one success but is critted out. It has the side benefit of inspiring Manic, and it should inspire Torka too, who happens to be close enough to...
He was already inspired.
Oh, right. Okay. So nothing gained there except for an inspiration. Xandar is still in the heart of things with no damage. She's doing great.
Unfortunately.
But I'm sad about it too. I actually want her to die. I have inspired attack in hand. I would like her to die.
It's sort of a weird thing because so my logic is that uninspired, she's the scariest because she's the most accurate. But I can definitely see how once Doraz is inspired, he is very, very scary. But it's like, then I have to just let her run around with 3 smash until I've dealt with Doraz, and that doesn't feel good either.
So from a gain perspective, Doraz doesn't actually gain much, and neither does Xandar. Like Xandar, what does she get? Cleave. Like I said, I almost never inspire her. All she gains is cleave and an extra movement. Doraz gains a scything attack, but Storm Rider gains an extra die shooting, cleave and ensnare on her bow, and gains a melee attack.
And she can take that double shot.
Yep. Yeah. And Taros gains another dice and Grievous on his attack. So getting those 2 inspired is actually the key. I don't care which one of my frontline fighters goes down early. As long as I can get 3 people inspired. Meh.
Yeah, well, just in time for Storm Rider to start taking some activations, you get Fighter's Ferocity on her, which is kind of a nice little get for her.
Yep.
Phil, did you have something you're gonna?
Oh, just the point that and Lux is basically the one that's almost guaranteed to inspire because you just keep her back, and it's very hard to get back there and deal with her.
Yeah. So your third activation here, you go for it. And you're popping an arrow. I have to assume it's going at Torka, who's...
Yeah, I didn't charge at this point because I'm looking at that potential of a double kill. With Fighter's Ferocity, I can now have Luxa kind of do the double kill instead of relying on Taros to make a charge.
So Torka does go down, and you are aided by the support. He's on Gloom. I forgot about this. Yeah.
So I get to push him.
Yeah. And that push is there because you were able to crushing charge that guard off of him. So that's significant as far as putting Phil in a little bit of a bind as far as not having enough people on cover hexes at this point.
Correct.
It's back over to Phil, and it's time for Manic to get his hands dirty. occupies that gloom hex that Torka was just in. There's an awesome cluster of like 6 fighters all piled on top of each other.
I think it's 7 by the end of this. I think I'm charging onto the cover X.
And then Manic actually looks like he thinks better of it and goes even further. But they're still all in together. He takes his swing. Looks like he managed to finally land a blow. Xandar takes 2. With Manic attacking and being supported by literally everybody except Crookgrin, who's just saying encouraging things from a little farther away.
Well, and Manic's got Xandar trapped here.
That's true.
That's important to note.
Yeah. Which is another bonus with the little guys, which I didn't think about. Little guys and range 2 fighters mean you can set up these trap walls, which is pretty cool. All right, so Phil is out of activations. He is in position where he could potentially do his get his what's the objective, Phil? For
it's the Cunning Warfare.
Cunning Warfare,
or sitting in the gloom.
Yeah, if the board state remains as it is. You Matt, you're bringing in Luxa, and Luxa has to pick a target here. Are you still going after Torka?
Yeah, I'm going after Torka. I need to get a kill. I've got double supports on it. Yeah. I think I changed my mind a couple times on this charge. But I don't like the spot that I'm in, but it was just to get the push on Taros to get him up, which will also give it puts Taros beside Manok, bad. But it puts Taros beside Manok, supporting Doraz, who's also beside Manok. Good.
Right. And you do land a hit crit to remove Torka. That's an important piece to get off the board. So that gets you up to 3 glory to Phil's 1. But about to go into the end phase, you get Prey Scent on Doraz.
So Prey Scent is aggressive. It's whenever an enemy fighter, so it makes you a quarry because it's a card in Dire Chasm. And if you're a quarry, you can make the following reaction. After an enemy fighter's activation, if there are 2 hexes from this fighter, or something about hunger that'll never come up, push that fighter 1 hex towards this fighter. Okay. So it's a free distraction towards you if you get pushed back by a range 1 attack. If somebody ends on a token within 2 of you. It's amazing on Ripa, honestly. Because you can just suck people in. And so that's kind of, it became a little sleeper card for me during one of the last leagues that I played in.
Yeah.
But really good for those range 1 fighters where you don't expect them to get more than 1 hit off around. You can just get a free distraction reacting at the end of their activation.
That's really solid. I don't think I paid it as much attention as I will from here on out. So good pick.
Yeah. What I will say is I put it on Doraz because of, I would not know the name of the card, but the Cunning Crew faction specific card where one of your fighters has more upgrades than all of my fighters. And so I started to put it on Xandar, but I didn't want to give Phil the chance to put a second upgrade out and score that. So I've stacked, knowing that he was out of glory, to try to see if I could brick that if it was in hand.
Got it. Phil, you're going to the end phase with just the 1 glory, and it's already spent.
Correct.
You will lose your illusion here.
Do.
And then you'll score 2 Cunning Warfare.
Yep.
As a pickup, which is pretty nice. So it gets you to 3/3. What do you draw in for a replacement there?
Unfortunately, we draw in. I mean, I guess not entirely unfortunately, but we draw in Unafraid, which is just slow at this point. I would have rather drawn another Surge. But it's also fairly likely to be able to score it, so I'm not super upset about it. Yeah, and then for power cards, I still had both the Mork Crow upgrade, which at this point did not feel super valuable, and Swarming Strike, which I felt at this point felt like it was going to end up being very valuable because I'm starting to lose fighters.
Matt, you score that Banish the Dark. That's that one that looks as great for.
Yep.
This is charge and not have anyone next to you. So that bumps you up to 4. And you make the you get rid of Savage Exemplar here. Is that you're thinking Xandar might die before she has a chance to score it?
She's still trapped.
Yeah.
If Phil goes first, I'm almost positive she's dead.
Yeah. And then Great Gains. Without knowing what you're going to draw into, it's too dangerous to hang on to. Is that the thought process there? Okay.
Yeah. I am keeping Inspired Attack and Mirror Move in hand.
Yeah.
Mirror Move I would have actually probably ditched, but I haven't seen Blaze of Glory score immediately when I do 2 reactions. So I'm getting ready for next round, knowing that I've got the reactions on Prey Scent, whatever else comes out, and we'll probably be able to Mirror Move in the next round.
Phil, you actually play more Crow out. Is that just because you don't have anything better to spend it on, or?
Yeah, I just so I had the 2 cards, and I just wanted to draw another power card, so I played it out.
Okay.
Just to get another draw
instead of discarding it.
Yep, because I mean, maybe Manok would end up needing to use it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. All right, drawn up. Matt, what's your hand going into this round for objectives?
I drew 3 end phase cards. Proud Commander. Okay. We suffice for having 2 in enemy territory and none in my territory, and Bold Deeds.
Okay. All right. There's the roll off, and it's tied. Matt gets an incredible 4 double supports, but Phil takes it. So Phil's got first activation. Phil, are you looking at Xandar eyeing up that juicy double support trapped?
You'll note that even before Phil's dice come out, my defense dice is sitting. I've already moved it out in preparation for
ready for the kill.
Knows what's coming. Phil lands 3 successes, and it is not crit defended, and that is the end of Xandar, which, as we know, is going to score you some stuff here, Phil. So you get Primacy, Orchestrated Kill, and unequal contest because of all those. Basically, the little guys made sure that everything was a success in your roll.
Yes, indeed.
So that's a big juicy 3 glory plus Primacy kill.
Yes.
Which launches you eventually up into 6 glory versus 4, and kind of resets your objective hand. What are you looking at now?
So now we've got showy tactics. So have 2 fighters who are inspired. So at that point, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And outmaneuver. So then I need to have at least 2 of my fighters in range of the same enemy fighter, which pairs very nicely with Unafraid. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
But also feeling like now that he's inspired, things could, like, he could start bopping my guys pretty good with that hammer.
Yeah, and Manek's in a dangerous spot because he's sitting right next to Doraz. Doraz is fully healthy. Manek is in a cover hex, but he can one hit will kill him here. How are you feeling at this point, Matt?
I just put Savage Soldier on Doraz. I've got Inspired Attack in hand. I'd be surprised if I don't just play it right now. Yep, there it goes. And so I'm going like I've got 4 smash, 5 damage. I'm fairly sure this is going to make a kill. And I get a crit and 2 single supports.
Yeah.
And so that'll steal Primacy back. That'll pretty much guarantee my Bold Deeds this round. So feeling pretty good about that as an overall. It also gives me a glory, which I also have Glory Seeker, and then my kind of faction specific Potion of Constitution, which can unlock Cleave and Ensnare on Doraz.
Oh, right.
Because so I'm feeling pretty good about this round.
Feeling good. Phil, probably not feeling as good.
Less good. As soon as he dropped the Inspired Attack, I was like, that's going to be a lot of damage coming in, almost guaranteed.
Yeah, a lot of dice, a lot of damage.
And at this point is where I realized that it's like, maybe you don't protect the little guys with the big guys because you need the big guys a lot more than you need the little guys.
Yeah. You do get Crookgrin, who has been just laying back in the cut here, picks up great strength and decides he's going to get involved.
Yeah.
That's matched with Indomitable Will, which is like you said that you called it a faction-specific potion of Constitution, right? So if you survive, you can heal one.
Yeah, to talk about this,
Yeah.
And just to be clear, the way that it's worded, it happens after the deal damage step.
Mm-hmm.
So even if he has fatal damage, that reaction happens before the check if fighters are out of action step in combat.
That's a good point.
This will save you from lethal damage. Even though it's worded differently than potion used to be, it doesn't reduce the damage. It heals me. But that's just a really important thing to note. What I also like about it is I can react even if it's, hey, I just took 7 damage and get a reaction for Blaze of Glory.
Sure. So you would still die in that case, but you would react Blaze of Glory and then probably react once you die to get it just on that one activation here. All right. So clearly Crookgrin is getting ready to come in hot. He's picking up Soundless Step.
Soundless Step
or you put it on
Shank because he has the range 3 net.
Sure. And then you're giving yourself extra support on this. Swarming Strike is coming in.
Yep.
Because he's going to need it. Crookgrin is your only uninspired guy, and so he's swinging on 2 Fury, so he needs some help on this.
Correct.
He comes in after Luxa, and then you react. Because you have a support, you get to trigger Unfair Fight reaction that we were pretty digging on. This will stagger Luxa and give you Grievous.
Very, very clutch here.
Yeah.
Wow. So those cards, you crit and get a single support.
Yep.
So crit hit.
Crit hit, which triggers Grievous, and that's
which
enough.
Kills Luxa. So she fires, I believe it. I would be surprised if it wasn't a Gikit.
Yep.
Knowing that reaction, so her death reaction can trigger Quick Volley.
Okay.
It does not say after an activation. It says after your attack action. So now she gets to fire at Shank as well.
So she knocks down Gikit and then throws a crit hit in on Shank, but Shank is crit support to defend that. So
pretty crazy scenario that transpired.
That was wild.
That.
Yep.
So now the board is looking like Crookgrin, who's charged, Shank, who has just been knocked out of a Gloom Hex and is got his back to the wall, Dorez, who is not charged, and Taros, who is not charged.
Yep.
Crookgrin did inspire on that, courtesy of that Swarming Strike card, which we were on the fence about putting in. So
came up massive there. Let's say with that Grievous and
I
did not expect to die there.
We are looking at 7-6 in favor of the Krule boys, the Cunning Crew, I should say. Although the Truthseekers have primacy, so this is.
Well, we shouldn't have primacy. He one shot Luxa. I can see that we messed that up.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Although
I'm about to get it back.
Yeah.
So I decided to suck Crookgrin over, even though I was giving him double supports, so that I could just have Dorez smack him a couple of times before charging at Shank.
Dorez takes a good shot at it, but he's blocked out by Crookgrin. Yep, cover comes to Crookgrin's rescue here. Shank is lobbing nets from the corner, which is desperate times.
all he can do.
Yeah, but this was kind of a good foresight on your part with the using the Soundless Step, because it does give Shank the chance to get himself out of this position where he'll be for sure trapped, and maybe into a Gloom Hex. Doesn't cause any damage. Does knock Dorez 1, and Shank gets to step back into cover.
Finally, he pushed me, so I get to play Mirror Move halfway through this game. Finally, he pushed anybody.
Yeah. So you use that to bop Crookgrin to a spot, and I think you're setting up a scything attack here.
Of course, I'm setting up a scything attack. I am trying to table him now.
All right. So Glory Seeker comes out. That's not really doing anything here other than stacking more upgrades, unless I'm missing something.
It was just in case Crookgrin got another upgrade.
Sure.
But I don't even think it mattered. I'm already at 4 damage. So
yeah. All right. Here comes Indoraz swinging in hot. You land 2 successes. This is Shank or Crookgrin rolls.
I believe this is Shank and Cleaving and Snare. So
yeah, so the Cleaving and Snare make it so there's only 1 success there and he's removed. Then you crit on Crookgrin, who actually crits back with a cover success as well.
Yeah.
So he's no longer in cover.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He got pulled out of it, so he just crits, gets bumped back. Crookgrin unfortunately just has to sit here and take it. The 2 of you have charged and now stare at each other.
Yeah.
Taros comes up, but Taros doesn't run in for an attack. What's the thought on this move? Is it purely we're going to get in to provide supports as needed, or what's?
I'm just going to get into cover so that I'm on effectively 2 block.
Oh, and you need to lock in Bold Deeds, right?
Bold Deeds and We Suffice. So I need both of my fighters in the territory. I'm not really worried because if Crookgrin goes on guard, that's why I pushed him away. If Crookgrin goes on guard, I'll just prey send him towards me.
Yeah.
And I have Cleaving and Snare. So I'm not really concerned about it.
Yeah, it's a good call. Phil, are you feeling lost cause here, or are you feeling?
Yes. I felt very much like I made a mistake with the Soundless Step positioning, because if I had moved 1 further away, I think without pushing Doraz, I would have been further away from Crookgrin, and then it'd be harder for him to set up a scything attack.
I see.
It ultimately didn't really matter because he just got one of them dead anyway, which was probably what was going to happen. But it, like, in the moment, I was like, oh no, it's just over. And I kind of lucked out of it. But at this point, it's like, okay, well, I know 2 of the cards in my hand are now unscorable, and a lot of the other cards in the deck can't be scored with just 1 fighter. And I mean, it's not a fair fight anymore. Crookgrin against Doraz is not a good place to be.
Not great.
Nope.
Yeah. So you do 1 card that's not dead is Unafraid. Crookgrin's still close enough to score that. So you bump yourself up to 9. And then you're kind of ditching those unscorables here.
Yep. So unscorables go away, getting rid of the
Strength of the
Swarm, because I obviously can't do that anymore.
It's not a good situation for the Cunning crew when they can't get supports anymore.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Matt, you pick up Bold Deeds and We Suffice.
Yeah, have 2 or more friendly fighters in enemy territory, and I have no enemy fighters in my territory.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. So you launch yourself up. You're now at 12-9, about to be 13-9 once you have primacy scored. We're just into the last round, and we'll kind of move through this. Crookgrin makes a play for it. See if he can. He can't even repeat the magic here because he doesn't have enough damage to do it on his own.
Yep.
And I realized, I think, an activation later. Like, I have Blaze of Glory in hand, and I have Countercharge in hand. I should have been countercharging.
Oh, well, for folks who don't, i.e. me, Blaze of Glory, remind me what Blaze of Glory is.
Get 2 reactions.
Right. Okay. To trigger that. Crookgrin misses his attack, and then it's kind of all over for that guy. Although he does get a cool double crit to prolong his own misery here, and then a crit
continues to crit out. That's how the rest of this game goes.
Okay. So he rolls lots of crits on defense because I don't know, Crookgrin just doesn't like to die. like at this point, I pretty much knew the game was over because I was already behind by 3, and I knew that basically there was nothing scoreable in the deck. I thought maybe I could have one scoreable left, but no, everything required multiple fighters. So it was just kind of like, I don't know, I'm just going to play this out. Just didn't really matter at that point.
Got it. So we score everything out, and we end on a score. Looks like 14-9 is the final. Although pretty close until the last round, basically. Maybe the last activation of this second round kind of helped seal the deal.
Yeah, that was pretty much the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Well, my hand kind of bricked there, and I actually had nothing else to score. So we could talk about that with kind of final thoughts on decks later.
Sure. All right. So we got a win for Xandire off the gate, right out of the gate. We're going into
which was my first win.
That's all we do is give here at the Hex. So, what are your thoughts? Did you have anything you learned from this first game that you recall that you're like, okay, second game, I need to keep this in mind, Phil? As the person who lost, you have the most to learn theoretically.
Yes.
What are you thinking going forward?
I definitely was thinking about how I lost Torka so early and how it felt like Torka was very important. So I wanted to try and set up in a way to keep Torka alive for longer.
Fair. How about you, Matt? Do you have any lessons learned that you're trying to move forward with?
Surprise Grievous is mean. Which I really like and respect. I think it's just I honestly think, and you'll see it, like I think we can move quickly here, but I think I got really lucky with a lot of things in that first game. You know, that opening Branching Fate allowing me to snowball.
Sure.
Because as we get into cards here, so I won the roll off again, and we did a very similar setup. Actually, we did the roll off and then remembered that the rules have changed.
Yep.
Yeah. And honestly, Phil and I playing locally, we do a lot of best of one just so we can change opponents frequently. So we haven't been doing a lot of best of 3 lately. So that's an easy thing for us to overlook. But we kind of go through. We know your guys' philosophies on deployment and setup, and we end up with a fairly similar overall setting. We are going to move through this game a little bit quicker here. There's a mulligan right out of the gate on power cards for Matt.
So I drew almost the exact same hands.
You did, right?
I drew the same objective hand: Branching Fate, Surge of Aggression, Brave the Dark. And then I drew Scavenged Armor and Prescient and Savage Soldier.
Yeah, it is almost exactly the same.
Like I almost drew the exact same 8 cards, and yeah.
Fair. Phil, you end up also, I believe, mulliganing your objectives as you did the first time around. In a similar way, Proud Commander, but this time, it's Proud Commander, a 1 Glory End Phase, and a 1 Glory Surge. So no new things here. Same as it ever was.
Essentially the same opening hand as well after the mulligan, which is super weird. And basically the same power cards too. I don't know. Like, I don't think I've really ever had that happen before, where it's like, oh, go in a second game, everything's exactly the same. I don't know.
Sure.
Agreed. This one felt weird.
I do want to say though that so just in deployment, you had mentioned in the first game about how it's like, oh, maybe it would be better to have ways to deploy with things, you know, people adjacent to Manok, which is part of the reason I chose this board. I don't know what it's called. It's out of the.
It's called Hall of Sublimation.
Weird. Okay, must be cold.
Weird.
Or just some other strange setting. Solids turning to gases. But so there's 2 spots on this board that have adjacent starting hexes. So I felt like it gave me a good spread of options.
Yeah. And then it looks like Gikit and Shank are a little more forward than last time.
Yep.
Still protecting that crook grin. Gotta keep that guy safe. So
he's been actually one of the bigger threats every game I've played against the Cunning
yeah.
Crew.
All right.
He like not early game, but late game, like when he gets Grievous or some damage on him. Like I think it's probably because I've been playing a lot of Truthseekers and he gains cleave when inspired.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
I also
cleave.
think that even if he's out of position, because he can let one of my minions attack on his action, it's sort of just another way to get attacks without having him actually be in range to attack.
Matt, you win the roll off, and true to our previous conversation, because Xandar has a little guy that she can go after. This time, you choose to take it.
I could Branching Fate and Surge of Aggression, and you'll notice here, differently than the last game, I do neither. Maybe I know I don't get Branching Fate, which was sad to me, but I do get the kill. No, I don't, because you have that card.
Oh yeah, that's right. I skin of my teeth him, save his butt.
Yeah, so
and then I was like,
both.
What a card!
And then I remembered our conversations about whether we should include this, and I was like, I'm glad we decided to keep this
one. The other thing that this does is Gikit and Torka should inspire off this.
They do.
So that's we're gonna call that activation a pretty solid win for the Cunning Crew.
Very.
Over to Phil, who makes a cool play. You charge with Manak into a position that is supported by Torka, but you manage to have Crookgrin next to you at your stop. So then you get to toss Crookgrin forward to just keep the inspiration train rolling and get yourself double supports on this attack.
Correct. That is the plan, because I already have orchestrated kill and unequal contest.
You come out of this. You also, because you got supports, here's that unfair fight. So you are now Grievous and staggering Xandar. You come up. You had 2 successes, and then you re-roll one of those. Is that you fishing for a
crit fishing? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I convinced him to.
You did well.
If I remember the game.
All right.
So,
but this. Go ahead.
And the reason that I did that is because, the reason I was hesitant is because I was holding unequal contest, and I'd already rolled 2 successes. Yeah. And it's like, if I re-roll, there's a 1/6 chance that I just don't score that now. But I was like, I should try and get the extra damage.
Yeah. Well, you don't change the result. You end up with 2 successes still. So you get 2 damage through on Xandar. Basically everybody inspires that's involved, and you score yourself your unequal contest. So you got yourself some seed glory. What do you draw into?
Unfortunately, I drew into Proud Commander.
All right. Doraz comes in hot. And this is looks like you're getting ready to come after Crookgrin. Does that sound about right?
Trying to make that kill. I got support right now.
Sure.
If I make the kill, I'll still get Surge of Aggression, which is really what I'm trying to get at this point. I don't. Oh, let's see what the defense dice do. Yeah, he crits out.
It's Crookgrin. Yeah, Crookgrin crits out.
Crookgrin.
Inspired Crookgrin gets it. So, Phil, you got to be feeling pretty good after this opening exchange here. You're kind of clicking along.
Yeah. Amazingly good about this situation, because they now have the 2 main threats are charged, and Xandar is staggered, and I can still just keep swinging with Crookgrin and Torka.
Sure. Looks like you put great strength out on Torka. In my mind, this felt premature because you don't need the extra damage to drop Xandar here. Was there something I'm missing here, or?
No. And okay. It's probably, like you say, probably just premature.
Yeah.
But
it puts a target on Torka, although it's not like he's imminently going to be killed. So it's generally a pretty safe move, I suppose. So that said, Torka tries to finish off Xandire. Doesn't quite get the job done. Even with the reroll, ends up with 1 success versus 1 success.
Correct.
The bird comes in for a charge.
Yeah, bird charge. Notably on cover and within 2 hexes of Storm Rider still.
Oh, yeah. So everything but blocks are good for the bird on defense now. So crit successes on Crook. And
which scores me. It's not actually a score, but I get to play Flawless Strike, a gambit, where after the defense roll, if I only have successes, I get a spent glory.
Oh, cool. Interesting.
Which I'm a fan of those kind of cards. I've always played Carver Rune, the crit fishing Blade Coven card, because I like that type of mechanism.
Yeah. Interesting. Like it's one that doesn't advance your board state at all, but gets you to those win conditions at the end here.
Yep.
Phil, you still got Torka in position because he's sitting right where he wants to be. Taking another swing at Xandire, is going 1 success again, and is denied again.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you think about pushing Xandire back at all since you're range 2, or?
No, because I was holding Unafraid at the time.
All right.
And also he knew I was holding Mirror Move. Again.
I love that kind of mini game, though. I don't feel. Were you thinking about Mirror Move at all? You were just thinking about Unafraid here, right?
I was mostly focused on Unafraid because Gikit was already in range for Unafraid, and I didn't want to push him out of range because I only had the 1 more activation to get Shank in.
Yeah. Shank is the range 3
Shank
guy.
had the range to attack, but he's not in range for Unafraid. He needs to be within 2 hexes, and he was within 3.
Okay. Then we go on to the last one. Dawn Rider, looks a come lately, is arriving to the fight here. Gonna pop up shot.
I'm shooting a Gikit, trying to do the last damage.
Which you do.
Yep.
Score the kill. Shank comes in for the crew's last activation. Doesn't really do much there.
I crit out wherever that attack was.
But Shank should inspire himself. So Phil is fully inspired, down 1 minion. We're into the end phase. Banish the Dark gets scored. So that puts Xandire up to 3. All 3 are spent because you play out Glory Seeker. You look like you're stacking up Storm Rider. And I suspect stacking, you're also working on the against that 1 objective again a little bit, or is it just that you think Storm Rider is going to be the one to do the work here?
I think Storm Rider is the one to do the work. That's where those need to go at this point.
I see you put out Keepsake. I do like this card. It reminds me of what was it? Whispers, Helpful Whispers.
Yep, Helpful Whispers
from the Shadespire season. It doesn't actually give you supports. It just counts that single support as successes in their attack roll. It's a nice little attack boost. Phil, you get your Unafraid. Big time. So that launches you up to 3, which lets you play out Great Fortitude on Torka. You're really committing to keeping Torka alive this game.
Yep.
And the old Mork Crow drops again. You guys draw up. Give me a quick rundown of your hand and what you're thinking for this next round, Matt.
I really need to get rid of Savage Exemplar. Because I drew it again, and she's about to die, and I don't have movement to kill anybody with her other than Crookgrin, which I believe I win priority and try to charge Crookgrin.
And Phil, what are you on?
Yep, so I'm still stuck with Proud Commander, but I feel pretty good about it now that Manok is inspired and on Gloom and hasn't been attacked yet. So holding that, still have Orchestrated Kill, which I'm in position to score if I can win priority. And I have Born Survivors, which should also be fairly straightforward since I've only lost 1 fighter. So if I can just keep from losing 2 or more in this round, I should be able to score it. So pretty decent.
Well, that roll off drops. You guys tie.
We tie 3 or 4 times.
And you finally finish off with, on the 4th attempt, we get a winner, and Xandire It goes in for that attempted kill on Crookgrin.
I think about it 3 times because I hate it.
don't like this play. You are doing it because of Savage Exemplar, right? Like
Savage Exemplar, and I got to try for Branching Fate. So
okay. Well, you do get Branching Fate.
But
you do not get
Crit
Grin is doing his thing. So you bump yourself up to 4 glory. What are you drawing to?
Great Gains.
Great Gains. Okay. How do you feel about your chances on Great Gains in this? Is that doable based on what you have?
It might be doable, but with Savage Exemplar now blocking my hand, it's unlikely.
Right. So Xandar kind of clogging things up for you. Phil, coming around to you, what's your priority action now? Xandar has charged. She can give up glory, but she's also no longer a threat. So is that a difficult choice for you at all?
So she's not a threat, but because I only do 2 and I guess 3 damage because of Torka with the upgrade, I just feel I need to try and get through surges, and I want to get orchestrated kill out of my hand. So Xandar is still the priority because it's a 2 glory swing if I hit her.
Plus, if you attack somewhere else and then kill Xandar, then you would give Matt the chance to score that, or not score that, to react with that heal, which we don't want him to ever get that. So we'll keep his perfect non-streak on that going. So this is Manok. You have basically like dealer's choice on who's going to make this attack because you are so clustered together. We're looking at another like 7 fighter pile.
Yeah, so the idea here is that I need 2 damage, and Manok has 3 dice with Grievous.
And double support.
So it's like he's the most accurate.
Yeah, so he does it, which means that he drops Xandar. So glory for that, primacy for the leader kill, orchestrated kill. That launches you all the way up to 5. So it's 5 versus 4 primacy in the hands of the Cunning crew. You put out that Quickening Greaves on Manok. And unless I'm missing something, I also think this is maybe a little bit of a preemptive drop. I think that's something you maybe wait on. Generally. So just to keep just in case like some late positioning is important, and you keep your options open for that. Xandar is dead, so you are inspiring over there, although I don't think it's quite happened yet.
Yeah. If I'm thinking about it, I should have been scything there, but I guess I didn't. I guess I forgot to inspire.
Yeah. There's like a single attack miss. Phil is getting ready for another attack. Strength of the Swarm comes out. Manok actually makes a charge here.
So that's because I drew into Cunning Warfare.
So he needs to have a charge token and be on a cover hex. So
correct.
Interesting. Yeah, those are the objectives I like. The ones that like force a suboptimal. Like the optimal thing here is probably Manok just keeps poking away from his spot.
Yep.
So that's cool. Manok is going to try and take a chop at Doraz. Countercharge comes out.
Yeah.
Are you sitting on Blaze of Glory, Matt? Or
no, I'm not.
This is just a purely let's help defensively.
It's let's help defensively, and okay. I'm kind of being cheeky.
And at this point, you do remember to inspire.
Yep.
So Manok is working on double supports again, which moves him from just 1 success on the roll to 3 successes, which is the hotness, and it's enough to he didn't need any extra help, but he gets 3 damage through.
Yep. And at this point, I realized that I should have
the strength of the swarm
dice from strength.
And so you do go and roll it just in case you get that crit for the crit fishing. Bump Doraz.
I mirror move Taros away so they can use advances 1 and push everybody right back in.
And advances 1 is is it faction specific?
Yeah, it's push each fighter. But this way I can set up for my scything, which is exactly why I did it this way.
Sure.
It'll put Luxa on a cover hex. She's already in range of Torka, so it didn't matter. And will give me a big scything attack, in which I believe the next card I play with my 1 wound Doraz is Berserker Rage on him.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that come out and thinking that's not a card I expected to see there.
That's a lot of rerolls and damage coming from him. So He goes for it. We're looking at right now still 5-4, but Dora is about to try and change that situation.
Here's one crit.
Crit grin
Yeah,
gets out of it.
He just never dies.
And here's a second crit. So that's how this game was going.
So Doraz with his Berserker Rage comes up empty, which doesn't feel good for Doraz.
Nope.
Yep.
And then Phil sets up probably Crook Grin for the cleave.
Yeah. Well, it didn't matter. I couldn't defend anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So any success meant he was dead because he was already on 1.
Right.
Pretty sure it was Crook Grin.
So, because Crook Grin is double supported here because Shank is adjacent and Torque is poking over the top. So, Doraz goes down. Cunning Crew goes up to 6. And it's down to the last activation for Zandire for this round. Luxa is taking a shot.
No, I'm fairly sure that's a bird charge.
Oh, a bird charge. Classic. Oh, is this a Grievous?
I was trying to get the Grievous to kill Crook Grin, but Crook Grin doesn't die. That's the secret to this war, man.
Not even. Well, except he did die last.
Well, except here at the end.
Yeah. Crook Grin
gets driven pushed away.
Takes the damage.
Yeah.
Gets pushed away.
Phil accidentally reveals countercharge and then puts it back away. It looks like you're doing a Torca charge backwards onto a Gloom, and you're setting yourself up for your
Cunning Warfare.
Cover. Yep. Cunning Warfare. Matt has a bad end around here.
Yep. I discard Great Gains and Surge of Aggression and Savage Exemplar.
Yeah. But Cunning Warfare scores for the crew.
Yep.
Bumping them. And then you have Born Survivors.
Yep.
Goes off as well. So that's a 3 glory end phase, which is
plus
pretty
primacy.
And then
plus primacy.
As well.
So it's 10-4, pretty dominant looking right now.
Yeah.
Phil tosses Scavenged Armor because he's in his own territory and not planning on leaving anytime soon.
Yep.
Coming into this last round, so you have a ton of ground to make up here, Matt. What are you thinking? Based on the cards in hand.
So I've got Brave the Darkness, where I get a glory if everybody charges, and I've got Blaze of Glory in hand finally, and I've got Bold Deeds. So if I can finally kill someone, I can score a bit.
Sure.
And then we kind of go from here.
Okay. And you're feeling pretty good, Phil, so you're just in kind of cruise control at this point, I imagine.
Yeah, and drew 2 surges, so feeling really good.
All right. Phil gets the lead off with an attack. It looks like Torca's trying to kill a bird.
Yep. Fails to kill a bird.
Fails to do so.
I played Call Strike to get a reroll on my first attack.
Yeah. The Master of Merc comes out for some accuracy for Phil. And then here comes that the Luxa train is going after it. So
I think I finally killed Crook Grin.
Yeah.
Crook Grin was on 1 health left, so that's all I needed. But then we get the extra shot here, and this lays 1 extra damage onto Torca, and that's courtesy of Keepsake. Actually 2 because of Glory Seeker. So Luxa with a strong turn, dropping 1 fighter and laying 2 on Torca.
Yeah, and getting my first reaction of the turn.
Yeah. Then back over to Phil for an activation. Coming in with Shank.
Creeping Doubt to push Shank next to Taros, which then also gives him
staggers Taros.
Stagger.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you're deciding whether to come in with Torca or Manic from here, or were you gonna just have Shank try and do the trick?
Definitely was wanting to get the kill with either Manic or Torca.
Yeah, better to have Shank providing those supports, right?
Yep. So. And then play Swamp Spill to get the reroll.
Yeah, infinite rerolls.
Torca comes back in because he's already got Master of Merc as well. So I charge him into Gloom and then attack.
Okay, and you have crit 2 successes, which is enough to pop Taros.
Yep. I use the healing reaction on Indomitable Will to score Blaze of Glory here.
Okay. So getting a little ground, but that's kind of a wash there for 1-1. And then Phil also picks up his Supreme Cunning. So this is had double supports on something. So Phil actually pulls ahead a little further on this. Doesn't pick up primacy. I think he maybe should have.
I'm realizing that now as well, that I made a mistake.
Somebody crits out of my 2 successes, Cleveland and Snare.
I think it was Shank. I'm pretty sure you were trying to get the one-shot kills.
I think I was trying to kill Torka.
Torka would have been the kill here
with the Glory Seeker. No, he's got great fortitude, but I was just still trying to
make
get
some magic.
Oh yeah, because there's only 1 defense dice, so it must have been.
So they're basically channeling the spirit of Crit Grin here. Mana comes flying over. He charges into a position to trigger Torka into a move.
Yep.
Get Torka into a decent spot and has a triple success versus 1 on Luxa. So Luxa is 2 health away from
scores impending doom off of that because of the move from Torka.
Yep. I roll 3 single supports, which is a hit keepsake. So 3 hits. And he crits out.
Yeah, because of course you do.
So this is like we start moving faster because I've realized that we've played a 4th round.
Okay.
But the 4th round is the funniest one, so we're gonna talk about it, everybody.
All right.
But I've got Crushing Maneuver in hand, and I've got what's this card called? Brave the Darkness, where I want everyone to charge. So my 3 damage Luxa is going to charge, and I want to use Crushing Maneuver because I've got it in hand. So I'm going to use her knee attack, which we can start moving faster, but effectively the rest of the game and this 4th round that didn't actually exist, Luxa tables the entire Cutting Crew warband using her knee.
Amazing.
So I actually only score bold deeds and have 2 objective cards left, putting us at
okay. That would explain why I only had 1 power
16
card
to 10.
left.
Yeah.
Or not power card. Well, I only had the 1 objective left.
Yeah.
So astute listeners will realize that Phil wins 16 to 10 here. And now we'll speed through this as I proceed to kill Phil's warband.
Just looks and runs around kicking everyone to death.
She sure does. It's just crits on every attack and kills everybody, which is pretty insane.
I got Scavenged Armor, I got Fighter's Ferocity, but I actually can't outscore Phil, so either with that, Phil still wins.
Yeah, I miss all of my attacks going through the rest of this, so I get 4 more attacks on Luxa, I think, before you kill me, and then
I crit out Inspired Attack here.
Oh no!
An Inspired Attack for the kill,
and then it's over. So I only got 2 more attacks on you, but still.
Yeah. And so I get 1 for the kill and 1 for primacy, and I can't even score Proud Commander because I only scored 5 cards that whole game.
Oh man!
Yay!
So I guess even with an extra round, it didn't matter.
Yeah, and Phil scores Proud Commander to put him at 18-13.
Oh, because you did have the 7, right? Yeah.
After a mysterious 4th round.
Yeah, I don't know how. Well, it's bookkeeping is sometimes weird.
We were also both very tired.
I believe it. I was excited when I found out you guys, because I also was tired and ended up falling asleep doing my kids' bedtime. So I was originally going to spectate this live, but I slept through it, and you guys played. I was excited the next morning, learned you'd played too, because that gave me more entertainment. So let's wrap it up with some thoughts. So Matt, we're going to start with you because it sounds like you've already made some changes to the deck. So based on this and other games, I know Savage Exemplar is on the chopping block. Were there any other changes? And
I'm just bringing my kind of V2 deck. I saved it just for this episode.
And if Matt's good with it, we'll have the V2 deck in our show notes, and you may see it on his blog.
Yeah, the V2 was the one that I played with. I think it was the one really from the blog. So what I did change was Savage Exemplar left, and I put in Unequal Contest as well as Contest of Equals.
Yeah.
Because I was rolling so many successes. and just found that like between 2 dice attacks it was doable. Between cards like Keepsake it was doable.
You've got some reroll
And
stuff in there.
I think that's eminently better than Zandire dying. I also removed Proud Commander for Demolish the Opposition, because I firmly believe that like that was scoreable there at the end.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I would have scored it both games. So
yeah,
I think that it just works with my game plan.
sure.
I also took out the card I never drew, which was, what is it? Oh no, I took out Great Gains because I have issues with Great Gains and bricking. And I put in Wasteland.
Oh, sure.
Because if I'm trying to
for
keep
folks who don't remember, what is Wasteland?
Yeah, Wasteland is one glory and phase if there are no objective tokens in one or more players' territory. So because, for example, like most of the games I've played with them, I'm getting into the opponent's territory and they're defending against me. There's not really much of a chance for them to be in my territory delving tokens. And so in round 1, I would consider this card extremely free. In rounds 2 or 3, it's probably scoreable. And so I put that one in. I put Heated Instinct in instead of Advance of 1. I think that's the only change I made there. And then I don't think I changed anything in. Oh, I put in Master of Shadows, which is a reroll when you're in a cover hex, to help me with unequal contest. And I took Berserker Rage out, as much as I like it. I think it's funny, but I don't think it's great.
Those seem like solid changes that are supporting the kind of play style where you're lobbing Zandire forward, and likely to lose her first. It sounds like you're saying that's been your experience. You with your play style, you tend to lose her pretty early.
Yeah, and people are going to target her. They're going to target her over Doraz first, because they want to get rid of that heal before you can use it. They want to get rid of the accurate attack early. So my experience has just shown that Zandire is probably going to die.
Sure. Phil, how about you? Playing through, what cards do you feel like are on the chopping block? I don't imagine you made direct changes, but you may be thinking about some.
Not a ton, actually. I mean, the only things that I felt like were really out of place. So I'm not sure that Mork Crow is really necessary, although I think it's maybe just the matchup that made it less useful. Having a range 4 attack could be good. I think there's just not a lot of good targets in this matchup to use it. And then I did feel like maybe just having more pushes could have been useful for getting the little guys in to support. But some of that is just draw. I never got to use Center of Attention, even though it's in the deck. And that usually would get things set up pretty nicely. So I actually thought that the deck played very well. I just died so fast in the first game that I didn't get to score a lot of the stuff. In the second game, it's like scored almost everything. So felt pretty solid for having only played it the 2 times.
Yeah. As a spectator, More Crow stuck out, but again, wasn't sure. This is a warband that was running at you, so maybe there's other matchups where that's more helpful, but there may be something that's more consistently useful. Quickening Greaves didn't jump out as me. I know we've got Soundless Step in there, but maybe even I don't know if doubling down with a Duelist Speed is too much. But Quickening Greaves does have the advantage where like you can throw it in late, and then once somebody's already charged, you can maybe get your tactics there. So I still feel okay about that.
I think I like Quickening Greaves for getting back onto a cover hex if you're pushed off.
Yeah.
Warfare. I think that's probably what I think is the strongest use of it. And I think like Murkrow, like I think this is a bad matchup, but against 2-wound fighters sitting on objectives, I think it's really strong.
Sure.
I also think it would be really good if Manic is backfield. He can charge forward 3 hexes, land next to somebody, and send that fighter in for support against the
Mm-hmm.
Morcrow attack,
Yep.
inspiring both of them,
Sure.
getting the support on that. Like I think that this is just really not a good matchup for it.
That's a good point. Similarly with scavenged armor. I
Yep.
don't know if you spent any time at all. I think you maybe had one guy in neutral territory once, and that was as far as you advanced.
Yes.
But there's other times where that'll be more useful. So um, jury may be out there, but otherwise felt pretty good. You guys have any other comments about it as a matchup or as your decks or anything like that? Any more thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I feel like it was fun to get to play the starter box, I guess core box matchup. Should be careful with my terminology there. Uh, to see how it goes once you've sort of optimized some. Um, my perception is still that the Krule boys, Cunnin crew, are probably positioned to be a better warband overall. But dice go a long way in an aggro versus aggro matchup, and obviously from these games you can see that it can go either way fairly easily. So it's pretty nice to see that it's not a completely lopsided matchup.
Yeah. Matt, how about you?
I would agree. Like, I think the Crow Boys is empirically a better warband, which, as a Stormcast lover, makes me sad. And I think a lot of that would come down to their surges and their objectives just being, easier to score, better cards. And that's fine. I think that Truthseekers still have some play. They're just a lot more technical and weird to kind of figure out. I will say, like, that it was a blast to play. Like, this was a really fun match, and especially when Luxo was kneeing orcs in the face at the end. I just we were laughing so hard. It was an absolute joy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
It was fun to watch. I enjoyed this kind of my second time through because I watched through the once and got a kick out of seeing it. It was fun to get to watch it once and say, okay, like here's what I think the reasoning is, and just see the things that I was missing just without your guys' input. To that effect, if you have been listening to this, this is something that Phil and I have been thinking about trying to do for a while. Is trying to do this verbal audio battle report. And trying to lean into some of the things that we can do here, which is to kind of get both players talking about their reasoning as the game goes. I don't know that we're going to be able to have visual aids with this one. That may be something we go with moving forward. I'll take a look at that possibility, but we'll let you know on that. If you like this, or if you think there's other ways you think it should be implemented, let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the style. We've been trying to innovate a little bit. We got some good feedback on the deck builds, the live deck builds we've been doing, and so we want to continue to try things out. And if you like them, let us know. If you don't think they work, let us know too. So, any more thoughts on that, Phil?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. All right, we'll put it out. Matt, is there anything you're working on that you want to let people know about, or anything you want to plug here?
Yeah, like the last couple of weeks have been really busy for me, so not much happening lately on my blog. But Set the Tempo blog, you can kind of find it anywhere on the internet. Thanks everybody for reading, and this was a lot of fun. I mean, I've really enjoyed um, seeing your deck building process, and I think the more we can share of those things, I think the better it'll really be. I think when the community can see how people are building and thinking about different cards, I always find that fun when two people have a difference of opinion and you've written something off. Like I know I do it all the time and go,
Mm.
I would never run that, and then I see somebody run it. I'm like, yeah, I should probably put that in.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think I've seen that. There's You're not the only one who's hot on Present, but I think I didn't really click for me until you described it here. So that's a good example of sort of cross pollination of ideas, giving me some good thoughts moving forward. So looking forward to that. With that, though, we are going to wrap it up here. You can get in touch with us, and please do. Again, like I said, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We're at WTHcast or whatthehexcast@gmail.com. You can check out more of the network's content at themortalrealms.com. Significantly, Dogs of Warcry have returned for their season 4?
I
Season
believe
4?
that is correct. Season 4.
Coinciding, this is actually coincidental, but coinciding with Red Harvest dropping. So if you are a Warcry aficionado or want to be, check those guys out. And they've been getting a great response from that. I haven't had time to listen to that just yet, but judging by all the people trotting over to our Discord, they must be doing some inspirational things.
Yeah.
And we do run a Discord where we talk about all kinds of sort of things. We try to have a sort of a real supportive community. There's a lot of focus on narrative play in that, but come say hi. We're going to keep it a mystery for coming up because we don't know either. We're going to see where the spirit moves us to record for our next one, and that may get based off of what your feedback is out there, listener. So let us know. Musical recommendation for this episode is going to be Fight Test. That's a Flaming Lips song. I think off Yoshimi Battles of Pink Robots. That's it for What the Hex. I've been Davey.
This is Phil.
I'm Matt.
Know what's going on.
Wasn't that the point of this episode? We played the Gits mirror match like you wanted, Davey.
What have you guys done? Said I wasn't going to go blow by blow, but that I ended up doing that. So